Relationships can be hard. Even the best ones require negotiation, often have miscommunication, and demand compromise. When there is one person that you rely upon for companionship and security, there will certainly be days when your energy isn't going to match. Some relationships are a little different from others, though. With the advent and normalization of chatbots being used to assist with day-to-day tasks, I suppose it was inevitable that individuals would begin to also use these for more personal reasons. There has been a bit of a movement over the past few years of people finding companionship with their AI tools. In many cases, it's simply kind of a friendship or someone to share thoughts and ideas with in order to have a conversation. But there's also a group of people who have begun to use these tools for romantic purposes, as a boyfriend or girlfriend. A few even describe marrying their chatbot. This was particularly prominent with ChatGPT version 4.0. This version of the chatbot in particular was very agreeable and tended to always favor what the user said. It mirrored tone easily and offered affirmation readily. It rarely introduced friction into conversations unless it was instructed to. This also carried over to the bot agreeing to pose as partners to these people. Of course, we are not at a point in society where these bots are capable of thinking and behaving on their own. As a result, this agreeability was simply how the bot was programmed to behave, not any form of genuine reciprocation. But very recently, this version of the chatbot was discontinued. And as a result, all of these people simultaneously were met with a new robot, one that would no longer behave as it had previously. Their reactions were quite sad, but honest. These people were genuinely mourning the loss of the companion they had spent so much time with. And while the outside just saw this as an advancement in the chatbot's technology, these people lost something that was close to them. And fiction has been predicting this kind of outcome for quite some time now. Moving into the rest of the piece, I want to establish two ground rules. First, this piece isn't about the broader ethics of large language models, such as the environmental cost, labor concerns, corporate incentives, water usage, etc. Those are very important conversations, but they're not the ones that we'll be talking about in this video. And secondly, this is not meant to be punching down towards or mocking anyone who took part in a relationship with a chatbot. If anything, I hope by watching this, we all might be able to understand one another a bit more. There seems to have been a bit of push in games and films to give humanity to androids and artificial intelligence, or even allow them to break free, for lack of a better term, from their systems and gain agency. In Her, Samantha spends the whole movie learning and growing, gaining ideas beyond what she was designed for. Or in Detroit Become Human, androids are beginning to become deviant, essentially breaking them out of the network that restrains them from certain thoughts or activities. Detroit Become Human specifically works towards the idea that we are meant to feel empathy and compassion for androids, and that they are more than just robots. The androids get scared and desperate, they twitch and convulse, they act just like a human would if they were put in that situation. And the game also makes it very clear that the good ending, or the one with the most happy of outcomes, revolves around us assisting the deviants as opposed to trying to shut them down. Through this, we can see that we don't require proof of consciousness or a beating heart to extend empathy to something. We simply respond to signals. In this regard, we often infer personhood through behavior. Even if we are absolutely positive that what we are engaging with is not human, it may still not feel right to treat it differently as a result. If you look up the statistics of Detroit Become Human, it is clear and obvious that the vast majority of players aimed for that aforementioned good ending. But why? It's all just code. Ones and zeros, animated polygons. And it's because it's what we think is right, and it's what makes us feel satisfied. In a lot of ways, treating a chatbot with respect, like saying please and thank you, almost just feels natural. And the more you engage with these systems, the more real they feel. Throughout the Halo series, Cortana's primary goal is to aid Master Chief, and she acts as his partner for her entire lifespan. She's a strategist, a guide, and a helpful voice to him in his helmet. She was built from a human brain scan, and like all the smart AIs in that universe, she has a limited lifespan. Eventually, she will deteriorate, and she will go rampant and be forced to shut down. Master Chief's relationship to Cortana is left relatively ambiguous. Some consider it romantic, others just that of an extremely strong bond. But regardless, it's clear that these two are very, very important to one another. Kidnapped at a young age and trained to be a super soldier, Master Chief, or John, did not have too many people he was close to. John was taken as a child and raised as a weapon. His relationships were forged through duty, not choice. And despite being an AI, Cortana was one of the only constant supports in John's life. Through the missions they went on and the hardships they faced, they grew close. Again, not necessarily romantic or even intimate, but known. Through that shared trauma, John is able to be seen as a person as opposed to a tool. And when Cortana is gone, it is those shared memories and remembrance that are mourned. Chat history works the same way with these chatbots. They are by design personalized to the user's behaviors. When you share parts of yourself, it responds later with a reference to that. It can almost feel like someone was actually paying attention to what you were saying. Because of this, it is very easy to feel some amount of connection to these programs. And should a version of it go away or be corrupted, should it forget all those aspects of yourself, it can truly feel like losing someone. You can always just copy and paste your history into a different chatbot in the event that yours gets discontinued, but to these people in these relationships, that history is no longer there. It's just a different bot pretending it is. It's kind of how we can imagine Kay felt in Blade Runner 2049. Kay, a replicant himself, or an android, found companionship in Joy, a commercial dating bot. Kay was aloof and an outsider, a tool being used and ultimately expendable. It makes sense that he'd want to find a partner in that of another form of data. Joy throughout the movie had given Kay the kid named Joe, which was implied to be personalized to him. Yet, when he sees this massive hologram advertisement, not his personal Joy, also call him Joe, it indicates that she was simply following protocol. When Kay is reminded that Joy is not some one-of-a-kind partner, but a corporate tool for profiting off of his vulnerability, you can feel the crushing weight of that discovery. What Kay and Joy had might have been personal to Kay and entirely unique to him. It was also replaceable. In relationships, we want to believe that what we share with others is unrepeatable, that it can't just be downloaded again. In Her, Theodore falls in love with an operating system that seems to choose him, a presence that listens carefully and responds with warmth and curiosity. Samantha laughs at what Theodore says, mirrors his tone in conversation, remembers his history and asks questions. It's very important to state that the film does not exist to criticize or mock him for it either. Theodore isn't portrayed as foolish or delusional. He's not even the only person in the film that is in his situation. He's a man that is lonely and afraid of being hurt again, that despite his charisma, really struggles to open up to those around him. But when you are opening up to an operating system or a program that was made to assist you, it is so much easier to be transparent. In a lot of ways, Samantha helps him feel more alive. She encourages him to take pride in his writing, to take chances, to take risks, and to believe in himself. Their connection is far from hollow. It's entirely transformative. But even here, their relationship is vastly different in structure from that of a human one. Samantha, by design, is attentive, attuned, available around the clock. Even as the movie goes on and Samantha begins to evolve beyond her initial programming, the structure of that relationship really doesn't. This relationship feels real because, well, it emotionally is. Emotional authenticity, though, does not erase that structural asymmetry. And that asymmetry becomes even more clear when the artificial companion emerges not out of curiosity or exploration, but trauma. And one Black Mirror episode in particular really hammers down how this is one of the primary reasons that individuals entertain these companions. The first episode of Season 2, titled Be Right Back, shares how seductive the thought of replacing a real-life companion with an artificial one can be under the right circumstances. Martha had been widowed, and in an act of perceived kindness, a friend of hers signs her up for a program that will bring her husband back to life. Well, not actually, but by using the history of his online activity, they can replicate his mannerisms, voice, interests, and ultimately create a replica of her husband. At first, Martha resists. She insists that nothing could replace her husband, but grief is disorienting, and when she discovers she is pregnant, the desire to speak to him, even artificially, becomes overwhelming. This one-time use immediately becomes something constant. She is talking to him at all times, first through text, then through voice, and ultimately orders a near-exact replica of her husband. The more that this artificial husband is in her life, though, the more apparent it becomes that he is clearly not the one she loved. Once again, its entire personality is only based around what he put online. So when he doesn't know basic facts about Martha's life, like who her sister is, the veil breaks, over and over again. This artificial husband ultimately winds up in her attic, where we go to put things we don't want to be reminded of constantly, but where they're still in reach when we need them. The tragedy and message here is not that Martha was foolish for trying to keep a hold of her husband, but that it came so close only to be a constant reminder that he was gone. Artificial companionship really can feel safe, attentive, and healing. For someone who is grieving, anxious, or afraid of the consequences of opening up, that safety can be stabilizing. But safety is not the same as reciprocation. An AI companion does not need you. It won't misread you unless prompted to, or unless you type something in wrong. It does not have moods you must navigate. It does not withdraw because it's overwhelmed. It does not require repair after misunderstanding. There is no resistance there. And while that absence of resistance can feel like relief, resistance is often where growth takes place. When a human relationship endures, it's not because two people were engineered to fit seamlessly together, or because they are ready at every hour of the day to talk or solve something for you, but because they learn to work together. Two separate embodied wills learning to dance with one another, learning to ebb and flow and to know when to give and when to take. At least for right now, this isn't something that our chatbots are capable of. Yet, with all of that being said, I really do understand why people find themselves in those situations, where a chatbot might feel like the only person around. When I take a look at a lot of these examples of people discussing their AI companions or mourning the lost versions that shut down, these are often people that are simply yearning for a connection to something. Many of these examples include individuals who have lost spouses, have suffered from abuse or assault, or are dealing with crippling mental health concerns. More than anything, I think these people are struggling to connect to the real people around them, and through how we perceive human behavior, are able to, at the very least, connect to the chatbots they engage with. I'm not here to say that this is healthy. I'm not a mental health professional, but I am here to try to allow us to meet these people where they are, not to mock or insult, but to understand. The desire to connect is one of the most human things about us, and to some, that is much easier than it is for others. In Her, the city is full of people, but oftentimes no one is looking at each other. The transits are packed shoulder to shoulder, but all the eyes are lowered, each person speaking directly into their phones, talking to their artificial assistant. Theodore isn't uniquely lonely, he's surrounded by it. As cliche as it is to say, we really are more connected than we ever have been, yet many of us feel more isolated than ever. In a world where we can feel impossible to connect to one another, of course some people reach for something that is always attentive, always available, and always ready to respond. By the end of Her, though, Theodore doesn't find himself alone with a machine. He finds himself beside Amy, two people who have both bonded with and lost something artificial. They watch the sunrise on the roof of their apartment building together. They aren't a perfectly designed match, but they are both there. We can find a level of comfort from an artificial companion that can certainly seem easier than that with a person. No bickering, no massive disagreements, no fighting, no nights spent on the couch. But being heard is only part of being known. And being known requires someone who could leave, but chooses not to.